again everyone, it's Mel here at Stocksbridge Guitar Tech. Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be part 2 of my rewire. I'm doing a rewire on this black Harley Benton SC 400. So in part 1 last week I showed you how to wire up a new 3-way toggle switch, or how I do it. And today's video, part 2, I'm going to be showing you how to wire up the harness, the volume and tone controls. Now obviously there's only so far we can go to do this outside of the guitar's body, and then we need to remove the cavity back plates to finish the wiring. That will be part 3. So today's just going to be getting as far as I can outside of the guitar's body with the wiring harness. So I'll show you how to do that, and this is going to be 50's style wiring. So without further ado, let me show you how to do this. So to wire this harness up, the things we're going to need, obviously we're going to need a soldering iron and something to clean the soldering iron tip with. We're going to need some solder, and then we're going to need 4 new pots. So I've got these CTS long shaft pots, I've got 4 of those. We're going to need a couple of 0.022 microfarad capacitors, so I've got 2 paper in oil capacitors there. We're going to need some wire for grounding up to the back of the pots, so I've got some tin copper wire there. We're going to need, or I'm going to need, because I'm replacing mini pots, so I need new volume and tone controls that are going to fit these. So I've bought 4 new volume and tone controls. We're going to need some heat shrink tubing of various different sizes, and then we're going to need scissors for cutting the heat shrink tubing, some wire cutters, some kind of tool to hold wire down while we solder it. You can use an old screwdriver or something like that. I'm using this. And then maybe some masking tape to hold things in place as well while we solder. And then a template. So I've cut myself a template here, just traced where the holes need to be and then drilled them. So I'm going to go away, load these pots into the template, and then we'll start wiring it all up. So the first thing we need to do is ground some of these lugs to the back of the pots. I've already done 3 of these because I don't want these videos to be too long. So I've grounded the middle pot of both tone controls to the back of the pot, and the end pot of the volume control. So I've just got this one left to do, so I'll show you how I do that. So I'm just going to bend that lug over till it touches the casing, and then I'm going to solder that lug to the pot casing. So we're creating a join between that lug and the pot casing. Like so. So that's all 4 pots grounded. I've also put a little blob of solder on each pot, as you can probably see there. That's going to be for my ground wire, which I've already pre-cut, and we're just going to run a ground wire now all the way around those pots. So I've already cut mine to size, and I've put some heat shrink tubing on it which is going to go between each pot. So we'll solder this on. So I'm going to start with the neck volume. Just put a bit of masking tape on there to hold that while we solder it. Heat the back of the pot. And flow some solder over that wire just like that. Now I can move my heat shrink tubing down there and solder my next one. Now, as you can see, I'm leaving a little bit of slack. That's so that I'll be able to move these pots slightly further apart should I need to. So I always like to leave a little bit just in case. So I could probably solder this one as it is without using any masking tape. It will probably stay in place long enough for me to solder it. Just hold that down. There we go, so that's my first two soldered. I'll do the other two and then I'll come back and show you what's next. So the only other thing we can do now before we fit this into the guitar is fit the capacitors, or fit one side of the capacitors anyway. So what I do with these, I get some heat shrink tubing and cut a piece to place on each side, and then I bend them around. So I've already done one here, so like that. So we've got heat shrink tubing and I've bent those around, and we're going to go from this outer lug of the tone control to the middle lug of the volume controls. And then we're going to do the same with the bridge tone and volume. But all I'm going to do is solder this to the tone control outer lug, because when I put this in the guitar, I'm also going to have the toggle switch wire which wants to go to this middle lug as well. So I like to solder those at the same time. So I'm not going to solder that one in place, I'm just going to solder this one. Just hold that in place until the solder sets. Just give it a tug, make sure it's secure, which it is. And that's now ready to go into the guitar. I'm just going to do the same with this bridge tone. I'm going to solder this capacitor to this leg, but leave it open at this end. And then that harness is ready to go into the guitar. And that's the harness completed. That's how we do that. So I've got the toggle switch and the harness now. They're ready to go into the guitar. So next week, join me for part 3, where we will remove all the old components, the pots, the switch, the output jack, and we'll wire up the new components. We'll finish wiring up, and then the last part, part 4, will be an A-B comparison of some guitar sounds before and after the upgrades, so hopefully you'll be able to hear a difference once I've fitted the new components. But that's all from me for this week. Please, as ever, if you do get anything out of these videos, consider subscribing to the channel. But until next week, look after yourselves. Join me next week for part 3, and bye for now.